Welcome to Aimee's Archives. This is the best of the best. This is my very best content, the content that has helped thousands of women just like you. So go in, enjoy, and if you want access to the full video in its original format, see the description below for the link. Dive in and enjoy, and please leave comments so I know how to better support you. So the case I want to share with you today is a case of a 32-year-old woman who, by the way, is also in the medical field. And I'll read you right from her case notes. These are my notes from her. She was a coaching client. I never saw her actually in my clinic. We worked, we did telemedicine, so via Zoom. So on my intake form, I say, what is the main reason you are seeking treatment? Hope to have a baby soon. As I was told 3 weeks after my husband and I got married, I was a virgin until we got married, that I was in premature ovarian failure. That was in June 2017. And since that diagnosis, I've had no menstrual cycles for 6 months. So, backtrack. Prior to her getting the diagnosis, her periods were normal. She just went in for some standard workups on her hormones because she was going to start to try to get pregnant, and because she was a virgin, and because she was in the medical field and it was easily accessible to her. And her FSH came back extremely high, above 100. So premature ovarian failure. And that was her diagnosis. And so she got the diagnosis. So think about this. Talk about trauma. She gets the diagnosis and her periods stop completely. So it's not like she had irregular periods or anything of that nature. She was normally menstruating, and so she thought ovulating, and then she gets the diagnosis and her periods stop. So first thing I think of right away is trauma. Significant emotional trauma is what she needs to be working through. By the time I had done my first intake with Elizabeth, she had already started working with a fertility mindset coach as well. Give a shout out to Roseanne Austin. That's who she was working with. She stopped tracking ovulation because it was causing too much stress for her. So she was like, I'm not going to track ovulation. I'm just going to work on this mindset piece. So her and Roseanne got her to this place where the first time we spoke, she said to me, I'm confident, I got this. Like, my body knows how to do this. I've got this part down. Now I need you to help me tweak diet and lifestyle and supplements and all of these things. And I will, I'm going to get pregnant. Then one thing that came up as we were talking was she's in the medical field and she was completing her residency, and she was working insane hours, working like 50 hours a week, but just like these insanely long shifts. Which can definitely impact ovulation. When you work those night shifts, you're not getting like the melatonin stimulation, and you need the complete darkness in order to complete ovulate. So I do think some of that was impacting her cycle as well. Her period, cycle day 1 was light with spotting. That was it. Cycle day 2 and 3, usually a heaviness, but only 2 to 3 pads a day. Bright red, no clots. Cycle day 4, brownish. So she didn't have a significantly heavy period. She would get PMS of breakouts, acne, bloat, breast tenderness, grumpy, irritable, enduring. She would feel very bloated, breast tenderness as well. She was also diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and that had been going on for about 3 years. Super mild case. She had 1 bout of blood and mucus in her stool. But for me, my antennas went right up when I heard that, because I was like, okay, something is going on in her body. There's some sort of inflammation that's going on. Ulcerative colitis is an autoimmune condition. Autoimmunity can definitely impact fertility. It definitely also impacts premature ovarian failure, because there can be ovarian antibodies, so it actually looks like you have POF, but you really just have an autoimmune condition. So I started asking her about her digestion. Normal stools 1 to 2 times a day, but she's extremely bloated every day, and always by breakfast. So I immediately went to her diet. So no matter what she eats, this happens, is what she said to me. So initially I thought she might have SIBO. Small intestine bacterial overgrowth, right? So she said there's no gas. She just feels really swollen and inflamed. And she's gained weight too. So history of being 115, and now she was 145. So she'd gained about 30 pounds. So to me, there was definitely something going on. So, you know, first things I recommended right away was I wanted her to do a food diary for me. I wanted her to completely avoid gluten, dairy, and soy, like 100%. I tried to get her to go autoimmune paleo. She was completely overwhelmed at that thought. So I just started with gluten, dairy, and soy. I also wanted her to get blue light glasses because some of her shifts were running late into the evening and she's in front of the computers at the hospital. So I had her start wearing blue light glasses at the hospital so that her body could start regulating itself from a light perspective, which really impacts ovulation. Okay, so hair, skin, and nails healthy, her sex drive healthy, no pain with sex. Her sleep, 7 to 8 hours on average, when she's on a normal schedule. So that hospital schedule is really impacting her sleep as well. But since she's been working through the mindset stuff, so now at this point she's read my book, she's been doing my body relief, meditations, my fertility meditations, she's working with the mindset coach. Her sleep has gotten better because now she's working through her anxiety and her stress. So she's journaling, she's meditating, she's trying to do less screen time when she's home, right? So she's really prioritizing her sleep and her mindfulness. She started taking melatonin. She said, I'm taking it on and off, and I recommended definitely take it on the nights that you're at the hospital late because we need that melatonin to help induce regular ovulation. Energy, she said, pretty good. She did have a transvaginal the year before, and they couldn't see her ovaries, but the uterus looked healthy. So I thought that was curious too. So there was some relationship strain, but they were working through it. So she meditates, she journals, she has a gratitude list every single day. So after our first call, I immediately, again, she's medical, so this tests were easy for her to do. I wanted her to get a thyroid panel done immediately, vitamin D done immediately, homocysteine done immediately too, because I had a feeling that inflammation was playing a role. By the time we talked the second time, she felt like, okay, my mindset is now, because we did a lot of mindset work as well, which I do with my clients. So, she had her mindset coach already, and then she had me doing lifestyle and diet and mindset. I had her cut out nuts. That was another thing. So I did gluten, dairy, soy, and nuts. I took them out of her diet because of that incredible bloat. And she was eating a lot of nuts. So it was one thing I noticed. And then she said that she was thinking about it. She said, I've always had some level of bloating my entire life. So we made the dietary changes. The bloat got a little better, but not at all significant. So then we got our labs back, right? So I had her test her thyroid, and her TSH came back at 3.35, which is, doctors usually don't flag it until it's above a 4. Fertility doctors will flag it around a 2. Anything higher than a 2 or a 2.5. I definitely thought that was significant, and I urged her to get on medication right away. She was extremely resistant to getting on the medication, even though she's in the medical field, which I thought was really interesting. It really upset her that there was something physically wrong with her body. And I just said to her, for the sake of your fertility, I urge you to get on this medication. She listened to me. Her vitamin D came back very low at 28.7. So same thing, I increased her vitamin D. I urged her to get on thyroid medication. She was also taking Garden of Life prenatal, spirulina, cod liver oil, methylfolate, liver capsules. She was doing bone broth 5 times a week, and she was doing dairy, gluten, soy, and nut-free diet, okay? So this is over the course of now probably 5 weeks since she's been working with me. She actually pulled all her labs from previous years because she wanted to see what her thyroid was doing. And it basically was creeping up a little bit every year. It went from a 2 to a 2.6 to the 3.3. And then this recent one was, to the 3.35. The vitamin D, she was negative for the MTHFR. And then she went ahead and cut out nightshades as well because she was like, I got to figure out this bloat. Sauerkraut bloated her incredibly. So we had to pull that. She couldn't do fermented foods, which made me think again that she had SIBO. But again, keep in mind, she's in the medical field. SIBO is, some doctors really believe in it, some doctors don't. Her doctor did not believe in it. Her GI doc was like, that's a a varsity. There's no such thing as SIBO, blah, blah, blah. So she didn't get it tested. Fine. We spent a lot of time on that next call talking about her need to control things. And she was very, very structured and stressed about, like, the thyroid medication really threw her for a loop. We had to really work through that. And I talked about how she needed to become more flexible in her mind. Over the following few months, Elizabeth stuck to the diet and mostly in the supplements, and she added in the thyroid medication. She didn't see as many shifts in her red flags as I had expected. So her red flags being her digestive symptoms. Her period didn't fully regulate, right? Nor did her bloating completely go away. So her period was still jumping around like 25, 27, and she had like a 30-something days, a 39-day cycle. So we jumped around a little bit. So the period didn't completely regulate. And I think a lot of that was the lifestyle. I had a hard time controlling her lifestyle because of those long shifts in the hospital where they were overnight shifts. And it's just, I see it over and over again. Those night shifts, or those people that fly internationally a lot, really hard to regulate because they're constantly like breaking their time zone pattern. So the best thing you can do for fertility to recover is you got to sleep from 10 to 6 or 11 to 7. And you need a lights out time. You need 20 to 30 minutes of downtime before you go to bed, no screens. So I had her do the blue lights. She was doing like the happy light in the morning. She was sleeping in complete darkness, even if she was sleeping during the day. So we were doing our best, okay? And then in January of 2019, so this past January, she decided to do my 30-day reboot and rewire program, which is an elimination diet. It's all based on my teachings from my latest book, Body Belief. And so she did that program on February 15th. I woke up in the morning and realized that I hadn't heard from Elizabeth in a couple days, or maybe a couple weeks. I hadn't seen her, since the group ended. And I sent her a quick email, and this is the response I get. Hi, Aimee, so nice for you to reach out. Was actually going to email you this weekend after I surprised my husband at our Valentine's Day dinner. I just found out that I am pregnant. Yeah, beautiful story. And again, FSH of 115. Guys, AMH of 0.03. So I just hope you can take that into account, knowing that these numbers are not set in stone, and they don't mean that much, because this girl was able to completely regulate her cycle. I mean, not entirely, but regulate her cycles, work on her mindset, and even like her red flag symptoms, all her inflammatory symptoms didn't completely go away, but she still was able to get pregnant. Take that in. A year and a half after a premature ovarian failure diagnosis, the girl was pregnant naturally. Mwah. Thank you so much for being a part of my life and for allowing me to be a part of yours. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.